Well, hey garden friends, it's Destry. Welcome back to my greenhouse today. Today I'm going to be taking you through all the seeds that I'm starting in the month of March here in my Oregon garden. I've done lots of seed starting so far this season, and I have different videos about what's under the grow lights already, but today's video is going to focus on what I'm starting in March, a few things I'm uppotting as well, and just a few other updates in the garden. So if you're new here, hey, I'm Destry. I like to do what I call yardening here in my Oregon yard. And this will be my third season having a cut flower stand. So this time of year is very busy. I feel like I'm either potting up seedlings, I'm starting more seeds, maybe planting some things like ranunculus and anemones, trying to get those early spring bloomers. And so be sure to stick around to the end of this video where I will be giving you some updates on how my tulips are doing right now. So in this video, you'll see me doing some planting of things like Celosia, Strawflower, Orangium, Marigolds, Status, and even more. And I'll try to give you some of my tips and tricks along the way that I've learned from a couple years now of starting seeds for cut flower production. Also in this video, I'm going to be uppotting some Strawflower seedlings, and then I will be potting up some dahlia seedlings that I am growing for the first time this year. So if you like hanging out in the greenhouse and talking about plants, stick around.
All right, well, I'm doing some seed starting tonight in the month of March, so I thought I would kind of share with you what I'm starting. First thing I'm going to be starting is a Celosia coral reef. This one is from Floret. So you can see here the picture. These are more of a fan shape Celosia. So I'm very excited to try this. And so I will be sowing these seeds now. Let's see, it just says, yep, 4 to 6 weeks, which I'm right about there. Yeah, and you can also direct sow them. So I'm excited to try these, as well as this Celosia, which is the raspberry lemonade. So this one has a really vibrant color and sort of a different, more spiky texture. So I'm really excited to try this one as well. I'm also going to be sowing some dianthus. This is a Marie Chablade, or I think I'm saying that correctly. I'm trying. A dianthus. I've grown dianthus before and I really liked it, so I'm just going to try it again. And then I do have some Strawflower here. Sorry, I'm getting into my other stuff here. I do have a system, even though it doesn't seem like it to anyone else. So this one is a Strawflower apricot peach from Johnny's. So I'm excited for this one. I like the Johnny's packets do tell you, like this says, do not cover seed as light is required for germination. So that is what I need to know at the time of sowing, and that is really helpful. I'm also going to be starting some Status. This is the pink pokers variety from Johnny's. And let's see, this one says, again, light aids in germination. And then this is a salvia. This is an Oxford blue salvia, which I have not sown yet. This one says to gently press seed into soil, but do not cover as light aids in germination. And then I have a couple zinnias here. I'm going to wait on the zinnias. So I'm going to go ahead and move those over back into my rubber band here. And then I do have a marigold. So I was wondering about that. Yeah, that's 4 to 6 weeks. I could go ahead and sow that, so I might go ahead and do that if I have room too. So this is a white swan marigold. It's for cut flowers though, so it's kind of more specific. So I'm excited to go ahead and get all of these planted up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different varieties I will be starting in the month of March. And then there's one other one as well. So this one I just sowed in some trays. I think actually this would have been good for winter sowing. This is an ageratum, a blue glitter ageratum. And so I'm excited to try this one. This one says, again, do not cover. This was 10 to 16 weeks. So I feel like I'm a little late on this one. Unfortunately, I probably should have done it as winter sowing. The other thing I was kind of bummed about this one is there was not very many seeds in this pack. So I used them all. So I'm hoping this works. I went ahead and sowed these in a tray. So I will show you that. The rest of these I will be sowing in 8-pack cells. No, I'm sorry. 12-pack cells to get these started. So I'll at least try to get 12 of every plant. So this is how I sowed the ageratum. I just did it surface sown on a tray like this. So instead of doing a cell pack, that's how I'm going to try it. And I'm going to go ahead and dampen this in now with some spray. I usually spray it. Now, the other thing that was interesting about this one is that it said it likes to germinate between 50 and 60 degrees. So I'm actually going to be keeping this one out in the greenhouse and not bringing it inside on in my home under the lights, which is actually nice. It will save me some room. So again, I think this would have been a good choice for winter sowing. So the first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and write out all of my tags for these. So that really helps me to just kind of streamline this a little bit. So I'm just going to grab all my tags here. And then I have been using my garden marker, but also I've been using my China marker, which is this one here. I got to grab it. So I've been really liking this little China marker. It gives me a little bit more control to write with. It's more like a pencil, but it has like a waxy coating, so it stays on even when you water your seedlings and such. So if you haven't tried one of these little China markers for doing your seedlings, I would recommend them. This one looks like from Pancho. So anyway, they're pretty good. I was looking a little closer at the floret packet, and it does say on here to barely cover the seeds of the celosia. So that's what I'm going to do. She said the seeds are really tiny. So let's look at these. There's a dog barking party going on in my neighborhood, but really cute little black seeds. Oh gosh, I need to make sure I'm in the right spot here. So that is this one. Okay, so unfortunately, I just got a bunch of seeds stuck to the little sticky part of the envelope, and I just hate it when that happens. Now, some people do this with a toothpick. I do it just by feel. You know, I have a pretty good sense of touch. I'm a ceramics teacher, I'm an artist. So like, I feel like, not every seed obviously, but like with these ones, I can feel the smooth kind of hard shell of this. And so it's easy for me to just do it this way. All right, and here's my mistake, guys. Don't make my same mistakes. Make sure to always tip your envelope the other direction before you open up the seeds. I'm just going to overseed it just a little bit. I'm looking in there and I have lots of seeds of this. And I really want to have a lot of this in my garden, so I don't mind separating seedlings. Okay, so this one I'm going to sprinkle just with a little bit of the mix there, the seed starting mix. And then we're going to move on to the coral reef. And let's not make that same mistake. Let's flip this over this direction and see what we have. Oh, very similar seeds, small, round, dark seeds, but pretty big. I mean, I had some celosia seeds from my own garden, and I would say mine are not this large. And that's the benefit to, you know, purchasing seeds that are, you know, are going to be quality, and they're coming from these growers and from this area that is just, they are getting the best nutrients, you know, all summer long. They have a big field to grow in. And so I really can't, you know, emulate that even when I'm collecting seed in my own garden. And that's why we buy from, you know, reputable companies and get the best seeds. So I can tell these are just juicy seeds. They're going to be so great, you guys. So excited for these. So be sure to stick around, and I will give you some updates on how these bloom and grow. Okay, so next up I'm going to do this strawflower, apricot strawflower. I love strawflower, you guys. It is so beautiful to grow, and I would say it was a really easy cut flower for me to grow. and I got a lot of seeds from it that I collected, but I have not tried this color. So I'm very excited to give this color a try, and hopefully it will be a little bit more subtle than, I did grow some purple and lavender last year, but then I also grew, well, I grew some really pretty colors. I had yellow, and I guess that was about it. I had purple and yellow and a little bit of orange, I guess. But this one is a much softer color, so I'm excited to try this. Now this one says do not cover, so that's ready to go with the humidity dome. And then next up I have the Status. Also Status I grew last year, but again, this is a different color. But I loved growing Status. It was so fun to dry both of these for drying and dried floral crafts. And so even though I do have some dried florals, I want to continue to collect them and continue to broaden my palette of ones that I have. And so, oh, rookie mistake there. I didn't mean to drop that. Here's the seed on this, very tiny. So again, this is probably one that's a little harder for me to feel, but overseeding is okay to some degree. I'm gonna go too crazy. Really hoping I get this nice color of Status. Put a little bit back. I like these little smaller envelopes they include in here. It makes everything so handy. Okay, so this one says, let's see, light aids in germination. So yeah, that is perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a dome on both of these now, and then I'll put these in my area. The other thing I do, guys, another tip for you is I just fold the corner of the ones I know that I've sown this year. My other ones are sort of put away, and I know these ones were good. I've got them somewhere. I can check and make sure, see how germination went, but that's a little tip I have for you, and it's really working for me. All right, so the last two I'm going to be sowing tonight is the Marigold, the White Swan, and then the Salvia Oxford Blue. I have never grown salvia from seed, I'll be honest. Oops, this one's got a few stuck up here too, darn it. So this will be new for me. I have grown salvia, but I've never grown it from seed. So I'm excited to give this a try. Oh, there's lots of seeds in here. So the seed are kind of a small almond shaped, kind of a dark brown chocolate color. So I'm just going to put a few more in here. So I'm excited to try salvia from seed. Tell me in the comments, have you ever tried it? I feel like it's one that might take a while to get going. Now maybe that's just my inclination, but we're gonna seed it really well so we get hopefully lots of cute little plants. So this is the Oxford Blue, and again it says don't cover. And then we've got the Marigold. Let's see, this one says to lightly cover. Now, I might be a little early on these marigolds. This says 4 to 6 weeks though. So, I mean, I will have a lot of other flowers blooming. So I definitely think the marigolds are one that I'm gonna sow again later in the season. So I'd like to save some of these seeds. Now these seeds are really interesting. They're really long, almost like a little dart, and they sort of have a lighter tip to them on both sides. So very interesting seed. So I'm just gonna lay one. I'm going to be a little bit more careful and a little bit less of the overseeding with these, because marigolds, when the seeds are bigger, the sproutlets will be bigger, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. Those tiny little seeds, when they come out, they're still going to be pretty tiny, but seeds that are bigger like this, you know that the plant is going to need more room sooner. It's going to take up a lot of space. I think that's it, you guys. I'm going to be really careful. I'm just going to do one in each cell. So they're going to take up room. So for these ones, I think I'm just going to kind of tamp them down a little bit, and then I will sprinkle a little bit of topsoil on this. But I'm excited to see how these develop. All right, and of course that was my last tray, and I can't find any more of the trays. So gosh darn, I'm gonna have to go look around in all my seed starting stuff, but we're gonna go ahead and get the domes on these two, and then that's gonna be it for tonight. I think as far as ones I'm gonna be prepping. Now the next big thing I need to do, you guys, is start pre-sprouting my dahlia tubers. I have purchased new dahlia tubers, so I have got to get those going hopefully this weekend, and hopefully I can document that process for you too. But I hope that you learned something tonight or today, whenever you're watching this, about seed starting and some of my tips and tricks, and I hope that you give it a try. All right, well, I'm going to do some uppotting today of these gorgeous Strawflower. You can see how big they are getting. Now, these ones could be pinched, but I am going to be not doing that because I want earlier blooms. So I'm going to go ahead and pot these up though. So I've got just some nursery cans here. We're going to be going with a 4-inch pot, and I'll be putting each one in a 4-inch pot. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I got a total of 11 plants in a tray here. These will perk up. I'll give them some fertilizer, and they're going to grow on really nicely, and I can add them to the rest of my Strawflower. All right, so the next thing I'm going to be potting up today are these dahlias. So these are dahlias I grew from seed. They're called the Bee's Choice. They're from Floret. And you can see I have gone in and snipped just a couple here and here. And then I've taken those snips and propagated those. So I have those going in a different tray, but I've done that with pretty much all of them, with maybe the exception of this one, which again, I could do that real quick. You can also see the difference between like the seed leaves down here and then the regular leaves of the dahlia. So another thing I might do is just go ahead and use my fingernail and kind of clean up the bottom seed leaves, because the plant really doesn't need them anymore. And that provides a little bit more energy for them to grow taller. So I'm going to be potting these up in some 4-inch containers today, and then getting them out in the greenhouse, getting some warm temperatures, and I'm excited to see how they grow on. Now, dahlia seeds, as far as I understand it, are, you never quite know what you're going to get. So this is my first year growing dahlia from seed. So I'm excited to see what varieties I'm going to get, what colors, and watch the tubers develop. Just within one summer, this plant will develop dahlia tubers. So that's really exciting for me. I'm such a plant geek. So to me, this whole process is just really fascinating. And it's funny too, because I can see like this one here, the stem is very purple, whereas this one here, the stem is very green. So there definitely are some differences to even the seeds that I sowed here. You can also see I only had 2 cells that did not germinate. So that's a pretty good success rate, I would say. Also, these roots are not totally wrapping around yet. I probably could have left these in these this other container for another week or 2, but I'm really wanting them to get bigger, and so the quicker I can pot them up, the more room that they will have to grow on. All right, well, here are the dahlias that I up potted. You can see they're a little floppy. I might even get a little chopstick and just sort of prop them up, but I think that they will straighten out once they get under here in the greenhouse. So I'm gonna go ahead and water those in, and then I'll show you the straw flower. All right, well, here's all the straw flower that I up potted today. And then you can see I've got some corms coming up here. I'm so excited. But then this is the rest of the straw flower that I already had. Now I did notice a little bit of aphid activity. So I treated this whole group, and then I'm gonna leave them outside. I'm doing a little bit of hardening off as well. So here you can see I have my pansies and violas. They're getting a little bit of cooler weather, some breeze. I've got my, not my ranunculus, but my anemones there that are growing on. And just, a few things. I've got more bulbs coming up here, my muscari and my tulips. So I'm kind of moved some things around today. I'm kind of hardening off some stuff, and just sort of, making room in the greenhouse for some other things. And over here, the tulips are coming. You can kind of see the different varieties coming at different times. More bulbs in pots here are coming. And then this bed is the bed that I, saved all the bulbs from last year and replanted. So wish me luck for some success there. And then about a 1 week, actually probably like a 2 week checkup on these ranunculus corms. They're doing great. I did cover them with frost cloth a couple nights right after I planted them. So I did have to kind of watch the weather report, but you can see they're doing great. They're taking root. I do need to water them, I think, at this last bed, and I just went through them today and kind of just checked on them to see how they were doing. So that bed here, this one, I feel like it might need a little bit of water, but overall they're doing great. They're loving this cooler weather. And then over here is a little bit of a fail. These are some fuchsias that I left out, and you guys, I think they all died over the winter. I should have stuck them in the garage, but I don't think they made it, so I think I'm going to clear this out. But you know what? That just makes room for some new plants and new opportunities. So sometimes you just have to let it go. I do have some more muscari coming up here in some small pots, so that's really fun to see as well. And yet another fail over here is this lisianthus that I tried to overwinter, and you can see it just was really not successful. I have a few left that made it, probably about less than half. So again, I'm not sure, but I did get a few, but honestly, it was not worth the hassle for me and not worth the room. So I think next year, just starting new lisianthus from seed every year is the way to go. And just a reminder too, if you have a green stalk planter like I do, don't forget to rotate it every once in a while. So I try to, about every weekend come out, or even sometimes more often, and rotate this around so that, things that might not be getting as much sun on one side can have more of a chance. So I think it's a good opportunity to do that as well.
Well, thanks for hanging out in the greenhouse with me today, guys, and talking about one of my favorite things, plants. I hope that you got some tips and tricks from this video, and thanks again for watching. If you're interested in topics like this, go ahead and click on the playlist and video that's linked at the end of this video and give it a watch. I hope you're enjoying your 2026 gardening spring as much as I am, and I can't wait to share more. So be sure to stick around by subscribing and liking this video. All right, guys, well, I got to get busy back in the garden. So if you need me, I'll be doing some gardening. I'll see you guys later. Bye.